each of your chapter in the book, pretty much it's reads like a explainer of India, how much do Indians make, or how India spends its money, or how India works, right? How India lives and where. So this must have been quite a eye-opening and fulfilling experience for you. And I'm guessing you must have learned a lot of interesting insights about, what the country is. So let me just talk about your experience of writing it and also the work that went behind. I know at one level you consumed a lot of data, but also you also compiled a lot of stories. And the whole book is written with, lots of stories. Sometimes people call those anec data.
Yeah.
And then there is, of course, very comprehensive data also you're juxtaposed with those stories. So what is the whole experience like?
Yeah, no, you've really got at the heart of it, which is by the combination of experiences that I had as a field reporter and as a data journalist, in a way is what you would call qualitative and quantitative. And I don't think I thought of it that way. But what the book was an attempt to bring these two parts of my work together and use them to both fill in the gaps in each other as well as to complicate each other, to not allow one side to be seen as the ultimate truth. In newsrooms, often there's a sort of, conflict between, like in political reporting, political reporters will say, I went to the constituency, I spoke to people on the ground, I know the real thing, you people rely on, opinion polling. So there's sometimes this conflict, but the idea was to bring them together to mix them, not to say that one completes the other, but maybe one also complicates the other. And I think personally, though, I have made this shift towards data even more so in the last few years. I love talking to people. It was always the favorite, my favorite part of the job. And I remember at one point I was in Bihar covering some elections, and I texted a friend saying that some days my job feels like being paid to understand the country. That's exactly what journalism can be. And on the good days when I wasn't, tired, overworked, or complaining about my salary, it did feel like that's what I was getting to do. And the book is trying to do that. It's pulling these experiences together to try and give you a sense of how things work in modern India, the sort of state of play on 10 important questions. And again, putting it together in some ways was a humbling experience, because I would frequently tell my editor, but I've already said this, well, should I really put it in a book? And there then was the realization that journalism is ephemeral. It comes and it goes. It's not maybe incentivized to create long-lasting knowledge or public goods. And which is why you do need public goods. So although I felt that many of these things had already been said, pulling them together was very valuable. And pulling them together also allowed me to take a fresh look at some data points that surprised me as well. And it allowed me to go back to some of the wonderful people that I had met on the ground over the years, because that's really been, the favorite part of my job. So I have a chapter about marriage, about love and marriage, for example. And there's a whole lot of data that I look at over there, which has to do with data on food, data on religious practices, data on marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a young man in an intercaste relationship at the beginning of the book, beginning of the chapter. And then I go back to him at the end of the chapter and I confront him with the numbers in a way. And I asked him if the numbers made him feel lonely, because the numbers show that intercaste marriage is extremely rare in India, still in the single digits.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, because your numbers are on intercaste marriage. They are not on intercaste relationships. And in the world around him, he said that he had seen many people in intercaste relationships. Now, demographics is not interested in intercaste. Demographics is interested in birth and marriage and childbirth and death.
Yeah.
But life is lived in between. And so in some ways, what that speaking to him did was mess up my entire chapter. Here is a whole chapter that I've built using data, telling you to say that things have not changed. This is how things are. Maybe they are changing at the margins. Maybe they don't reflect in data on marriage yet. Maybe if a big survey, and this would really be my dream survey, if someone went out and asked people about relationships, we don't have data on relations. We get it from, Hinge or Bumble, and those are not great sources of data about the country on the whole. Maybe if someone asked, we would learn a lot more. Maybe there is radical changes happening on the margins, but they don't get captured in the National Family Health Survey, which is only interested in data on marriage.
Fair. And how extensive was your field work? Just give a sense of, where all did you travel, who all did you talk to, and how complicated your book is filled with stories of pretty much all walks of life.
So I think that was really one of the greatest privileges of my time in a newsroom, which is that I was entrusted with enough responsibility that I got sent all over the country. Typically, this would be around elections. There's often a lot of traveling you can do then. But then it extended to other areas of interest as well. So I was interested in women's representation in politics, for example. So I got to, at the time, go and write about the Nagaland elections that were going on because there were 2 women contesting. Of course, since then there have been successful candidates. But I often also reported on panchayat elections, which I found very interesting. A lot of the time, journalism is responding to horrible things happening. So a lot of my travel would have to do with, disasters. But then you get to talk to people about other things on the sidelines of it. And some of these experiences came as a result of not the direct reporting assignment either. So I have a story in the book as well, which, for me illustrates that people are complicated and hold complicated thoughts. So there's a journalist who accompanied me while I was out doing some reporting. And the person that we were reporting on was from an Adivasi family, and this man refused to drink water from his house, the journalist who accompanied me. And he told me quite clearly later that he would not drink water from this man's house. But then simultaneously, he wanted me to come home to his house to meet his daughter, because he wanted his daughter to see, here's a young woman traveling alone in such a, I was an MP at the time. None of this excuses, biases. This is not a story to say, so untouchability is okay because you may also be a feminist. But some of these insights into people and how their minds work came just on the sidelines, not even as part of the reporting itself. And it's such a cliche, but the bottom line of all of my reporting experiences was that the hospitality of people is extremely moving. I mean, the feasts that I have been fed in, not just in very poor households, but in households that are dealing with tragedy, in households where you are having to arrive like a vulture and ask the most difficult questions. But the kindness with which you are treated, no matter where you go, is
this
such
also
a cliche,
somewhat proportional? The farther you get away from big cities, hospitality keeps increasing, or universal?
I've never met an inhospitable person on a reporting trip. Often it was because, I was alone, I was a young woman. But no, just universally, fed extremely sweet tea at a bare minimum, no matter where I went.
At Sparks, we aim to bring to you stories of exponential impact. We share in-depth analysis of what goes behind success stories. If you find our conversations interesting, you can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to Sparks on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other audio platform of your choice. If you have any suggestions on who we should invite or what topics we need to cover, just let us know in the comments. We are always listening, looking for ways to improve, and keep getting better as we go along.